Hello, everyone. This is Al Fadi, and I'd like to welcome you to this brand new episode of our series on Islam and atheism. Sitting with me here in studio is our dear brother, Dr. David Wood. Last time, we used an argument from Islamic sources, speaking to those, of course, who call themselves ex-Muslims and now atheists, using the moral argument in relationship to the character of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad. And we talked about his marriage to young Aisha when he proposed to her, whether she was 6 or 7 years of age, but consummated the marriage at age 9. Today, I think, David, we are going to talk about yet another moral argument using Muhammad's character in relationship to something totally different this time. Welcome, of course, and I'd like to turn this over to you now.
Yep, totally different, but connected in a horrible, horrible way. We're going to be talking about Muhammad allowing his followers to beat their wives into submission. And the reason I say it was connected is because last time we talked about Aisha, and we know from Sahih Muslim that Muhammad once hit Aisha in her chest because she
She was following him. Exactly.
Yeah, she was sneaking around, seeing what he was doing at night when he was outside, and he caught her and gave her a good shot to the chest. Keep in mind, though, he's the perfect example for all mankind. But this brings up the issue of wife beating in Islam, and certainly something that bothers a lot of people. So just so everyone can know what we're talking about, let's go ahead and go to the Quran. This is Surah 4, verse 34. We read, "Men are in charge of women. Why? Because Allah has made the one of them to excel the other, and because they spend of their property for the support of women. So good women are obedient, guarding in secret that which Allah has guarded. As for those from whom you fear rebellion, admonish them and banish them to beds apart and scourge them." That means beat them. "Then, if they obey you, seek not a way against them. Lo, Allah is ever high exalted, great." Allah is high exalted, great, for this wonderful revelation about beating your wife into submission.
And actually, David, this passage always disturbs me because the reasons why the wife could be beaten is not even given as a solid reason or evidence. It's just feeling, based on feeling.
This is what we mean by subjective, right? There's nothing objective that she did, nothing that could be verified, nothing that's true independently of a man's feelings. It's if you fear rebellion or desertion or something like that, if you fear that she's going to rebel against you. So notice if you wanted to say, if someone wanted to call you out and say, "Hey, why'd you beat your wife? Why did you beat your wife? What did she do?" It's like, what are you talking about? She didn't have to do anything. I just had to fear that she was going to do something. That's why Muhammad said, a man will not be asked as to why he beat his wife. You have no right to ask the man because obviously he feared something.
And I personally know some people, without, of course, mentioning names or locations, who are Muslims, who end up beating their wives because the wife came in home 10 minutes late. As if the 10 minutes meant, oh, you're cheating on me, or you're doing something. And the Quran gives him, of course, the ammunition to do so.
Yeah. And of course, there are Muslims who try to reinterpret this and say that it really means tapping someone lightly with a toothbrush or something like that. And that's what it means by beating them.
That's if you're using Yusuf Ali's translation, of course.
Yeah, and it only works if you do. You have to take a lot of steps. One, you have to ignore the historical background. You have to ignore the sort of disturbing logic of the passage, and you have to ignore other things the Muslim sources say about wife beating. So as far as the passage itself is concerned, notice it gives sort of a three-stage process here. If you fear that your wife is going to rebel against you, you admonish her, or you warn her. That's sort of step one. I've done that. And then step two, you banish her to a separate bed. So okay, you didn't listen to my warning. Now I'm showing how upset I am by banishing you to a separate bed. You don't get to sleep beside me. That's how upset I am right now. I am furious at you for me fearing that you're going to rebel against me. Get out of here. So you put her in a separate bed. Then if that doesn't work, you have the final stage, which is what? Tapping her with a toothbrush? It wouldn't make any sense. That's no more severe than the warning at the beginning. So it only makes sense if it is an actual beating. So that's one problem. Second problem is we know the historical background from the Muslim commentaries. We know the historical background. The historical background is that a man slapped his wife in the face.
Correct.
So hard that it left his handprint there, and then she went and got her father, and her father went to Muhammad, saying, "Look what my husband."
And it was green. You can see.
No, that's a different one. The green one.
There's another one. Yeah.
So
that's right.
you've got the green skin one. Yeah, that's that would probably be the third problem. Would be one of those passages about reading about wife beating in the Muslim sources. But this woman, she had the handprint on her face where she comes to Muhammad with her father, and they say, "Look what my husband did to me. What are you going to do about this?" And Muhammad says, "Yes, this deserves retaliation." And so they send them out. Now, I don't know if it was the woman who's supposed to be able to retaliate and she gets to slap her husband, or if her father gets to slap the husband to make sure that, it's of equal strength to how the woman was slapped or something like that. But he sends them away for retaliation. And as they're leaving, Muhammad says, "Stop. I just got a revelation from Allah."
It's amazing.
Yeah. I got a revelation from Allah. And he says there's to be no retaliation, because if a man fears rebellion, from his wife, he can beat her. And he says, and he had the nerve to say, "I wanted one thing, but Allah wanted something else." Now notice, I wanted you to stop beating your wife and for you to be punished for beating your wife, but Allah says, no. That man gets to beat his wife. And so that's the historical background. So for Muslims who want to say this isn't about wife beating, they have no clue what they're talking about. And then finally, as you pointed out, we have in the Muslim sources horrible stories about how Muslim husbands were beating their wives. And in the hadith you were referring to, where a woman was beaten until her skin turned green, she goes and complains to Aisha. Aisha brings her to Muhammad, and Aisha says to Muhammad, "I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women." So according to Aisha, who's the mother of the faithful in Islam, Muslim women were treated worse by their husbands than pagan women.
In other words, she's saying when we were pagans, we weren't treated this way.
We had it better. Women had it better when they were pagans, right? This is amazing, because Muslims today will say, Islam is the fount of women's rights and freedom and blah, 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 and Muhammad is a feminist. It's all total nonsense. Even not according to me, according to Aisha, the mother of the faithful.
According to chapter 434, there's no equality right there.
So this is just, it's basically what you have is Muslim apologists in the West will say pretty much anything to get people to believe in Islam. Doesn't matter if it's completely flies in the face of all reality. So here's the situation. In the Muslim sources, we have Aisha saying that Muslim women were treated worse by their husbands than pagan women. She comes to Muhammad to pass judgment, and Muhammad, long story short, tells the woman she basically deserves it because she's talking trash about her husband.
Exactly, because he apparently wasn't able to get
she's
her pregnant.
She's going around telling people that, and so she deserved her husband beating her until her skin turned green. Now, I just want to be clear, if the Quran refers to tapping someone lightly with a toothbrush, he wasn't tapping very lightly with that toothbrush, right?
When you see green, it went beyond tapping.
Yeah, that's some serious stuff. I mean, till your skin turned green. That is, and Aisha even said her skin is greener than her clothes. This woman had a green veil on, and Aisha was saying her skin's greener than her green veil.
Let me just translate what we mean by green. Bruised. There is blood already under the skin. That's how severe. It's almost like you're having an accident in a car, and all of a sudden everybody's bruised in their face or their arms or their shoulders. That's how severe the beating was.
Mm-hmm. And so Muslims sometimes recognize how bad this is. Lots of Muslims recognize how bad it is, but they'll try to explain it away, and that's why they'll try to say it means something else when it clearly doesn't. It can't mean tap lightly with a toothbrush. It can't mean that, given what the Muslim sources say. So it refers to a beating. It can refer to slapping a woman in her face. It can refer to beating a woman till her skin turns green. Men are allowed to beat their wives into submission in Islam. Now, there are Muslims who will look at this and say, you know what, the Quran says that Muhammad is the great pattern of conduct for Muslim men. I cannot imagine this being a good teaching. This can't be a good teaching. This teaching can't come from God. This can't be a good thing to do. This can't be a moral obligation men have to beat their wives into submission.
They use a logical argument, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so they reason, wait a minute, this can't be a good practice. Therefore, Muhammad can't be the pattern of conduct. Therefore, the Quran is wrong, and I need a new belief, right?
Worldview or whatever you call it, basically.
So some of those who leave Islam because they see this problem with Muhammad actually become atheists. Right? They become atheists. They leave Islam and they become atheists. But as we pointed out with the issue of Muhammad and Aisha, they haven't done away with the problem. They haven't done away with the problem here. They've changed the problem into a new one, which they still have no answer for. And what I mean here is the original problem for the Muslim was, I have been told all my life that Muhammad is the pattern of conduct, that Muhammad is the greatest man who ever lived. But now I'm actually reading the Muslim sources and reading about Muhammad allowing his followers to beat their wives into submission. And I'm seeing how this plays out, that men were hitting their wives in the face, that men were beating their wives until their skin turned green, that Muslim women were treated worse than the pagan women. All of this completely contradicts everything I've been told about Islam. So I don't see how this can go together. Muhammad, the greatest man who ever lived, and Muhammad allowing his followers and promoting wife beating to such an extent that their skin would turn green among women. I can't, these can't go together. I have to drop one or the other. Well, I know Muhammad was promoting wife beating, so I have to drop my belief that he's a pattern of conduct. So they recognize the tension and the inconsistency there. But some of those people become atheists and they think that solves a problem. Well, now I don't believe that Muhammad was a prophet. What's the problem here? Well, we've been discussing throughout this entire series that given atheism, given the atheistic view of what we are, we're what? We're animals. We're smart animals. We are, as Bill Nye said, a speck on a speck on a speck on a speck in the midst of specklessness. We are, according to Richard Dawkins, machines for propagating DNA. Right. You are your entire body is one big machine for propagating a molecule. Right. Where do you get in any of that the idea that other people have these intrinsic rights because they're intrinsically important and worthy of our respect, and that you shouldn't cross certain lines with other people? I mean, if you just think, because lots of atheists will look at that and they go, "What? You just know this," and they don't understand the point, right? Animals rip each other apart all the time. They don't care. A lion will run up and grab a baby gazelle. It doesn't care that it's a baby. It will run up and grab the baby gazelle and just rip it apart and eat it like a snack, because it's the baby gazelle's not as fast as the adult gazelle. So it'll just run up and grab a baby as a snack, right? Animals do some horrible, horrible things to each other. Nature doesn't seem to care. It doesn't seem to care if you're doing these horrible things. Where do you get the idea that you can't, that one machine for propagating DNA is not allowed to smack another machine for propagating DNA? We don't say that with any other animals. Why are we saying that about ourselves? And you have all throughout history people being very violent towards each other. What's a smack to the face, or even bruised skin? We agree that it's immoral, that a man should not do that to his wife, and the atheist agrees with it too. But the question is, from an atheistic perspective, where's that coming from? Where's that belief coming from? And the idea is, it can't be anything, wife beating cannot be anything objectively wrong from an atheistic perspective. Objective here meaning independent of human feelings or beliefs, that this would still be wrong. The idea here is, yes, we know an atheist can believe that it's wrong, and most atheists, especially in the West, would believe it's wrong to hit your wife or to beat her until her skin turns green or to slap her in the face. So the majority of atheists would say, yes, that is clearly wrong behavior. The question is, we all agree on that. The question is, how is that wrong according to your worldview? And what can you possibly say? Where did you get your values as an atheist? You can say, hey, I'm just kind of wired to be nice to my wife. You being wired in a certain way doesn't make something right or wrong. Or you can say, my society taught me that beating women is wrong. Well, guess what? If you've been raised in a Muslim society, you might think it's perfectly normal. So you have no basis for saying something is really wrong. All you can say is, I don't like it. It doesn't go along with my feelings. But if all you're saying is, I don't like that behavior, if all you're saying is, I don't like that, it hurts my feelings somehow, that's not the same thing as Muhammad can't be a prophet because he's doing things that are objectively wrong. And so it's just very strange to me that atheists are saying, hey, when I was a Muslim, this came to bother me so much. It was so clearly wrong and immoral that I left Islam because of it. And now they go and adopt an ideology which says that nothing is really right or wrong. That it's all kind of an illusion to us. And so they're not fixing the problem, they're just gaining new problems.
Absolutely, and I would agree, of course. And I know we're going to revisit this probably over and over again. We have more examples from the moral character of Muhammad according to Islamic teachings. And hopefully everybody's been enjoying this series about Islam and atheism. And we pray, of course, that you are using this in your own ministry among atheists in general, but also specifically those who are ex-Muslims calling themselves atheists. There's a lot of group of them. There is like an estimated about 250 supposedly Facebook pages alone that deals with Arab atheists and ex-Muslims who are atheists. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, brother, for being here with us. Until we meet again next time, have a blessed day. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. We can't make these quality videos without the help of partners like you. So please consider becoming a Patreon supporter today at patreon.com/Sira International. I want to make sure you always get notified when we release a new video. So please click the bell to be notified. And of course, make sure to subscribe to this channel. If this video was helpful to you, please click the thumbs up. Thank you.